Hello everybody and welcome to another Professor Pickles release. This one is called A Piece of Mumblings. The analog sounds of Professor Pickles in his Sweet Peas 3. Comes out on black vinyl, 180 gram. There's just a couple of things I wanted to talk about this release that made it kind of unique. First off, let me just explain what this is. A Piece of Mumblings is a collection of writings I had floating around from computer to computer for the last 13 years. Little writings here and there. Never meant to be released, always just for me, but eventually I ended up making a book out of it first that comes with the record. It's hand-sewn. I made a whole bunch of them here, called A Piece of Mumblings. The first 50 are numbered and the hand-sewn booklet. The remaining ones are just printed, manufactured, staple in them. Anyway, started with a book, and then it moved into a record. And what the record is that the first side is readings from the book. The second side is I guess what you would call a musical translation of those readings. A few unique things about this is that it's the side 2 documents the first and only time I've ever played music. I don't play music. I don't know an instrument. I don't know music theory. I just enjoy the listen and the discovery. There's a few things about this that I want to talk about that are super unique to this pressing. So the idea behind all this is that I wanted to give a tribute to records pressed in the late 50s and 60s, specifically around the LA area, because that's where it was happening. And what was unique about those is that they had certain standards at the time. They were usually mono, recorded mono. They're recorded to tape, usually 2-inch tape. And they were packaged a certain way, a very unique way to that time. So I wanted to emulate and tip my hat to that era with this release. So I went kind of far with that, and I sought after the same companies that produced records at that time, and I also sought after excuse me, the same printing presses and manufacturing equipment for records of that time as well, because I wanted an accurate period piece of this. So it starts with this. This is this kind of sleeve. This sleeve is called a reverse tip-on. I know that doesn't really sound like anything to anyone, but if anyone is out there that knows a little bit about this stuff, they'd know that Stoughton is a big name when it comes to record sleeves. Stoughton tip-ons is what it's called. You'll even see it on a hype sticker on some records promoting the fact that it was made by Stoughton. So, of course, Stoughton was a big player at the time in the 50s and 60s, so they're located in LA. So I went ahead and contacted them and got this one made through Stoughton. What's cool about this is that this was what's called a reverse tip-on. It was unique to that time period again, the 50s and 60s. You'll see here in a classic Martin Denny record, the reverse tip-on. I don't know if you can see that, reverse tip-on. It's kind of rare, doesn't really happen. Chipboard. So that was kind of the first thing to match that time period. Going further, again, staying true to analog and mono, I went ahead and recorded the music and the vocals, the side 1, on this thing. It's a Sony Tapecoder. It's not 2-inch tape like in a studio, but it's a 1/4-inch tape, and it got the job done. Just recorded it here at home on the floor over there. And again, staying true to that time period, analog, mono. Took it a step even further when it comes to the record. So now that I had my recordings on a tape, I had to seek after time-correct machinery. So long story short, I ended up having to send the tape to the UK. A guy who specialized in mastering audio 100% analog was there. It was also the same guy who created the master plates for this, the lacquers. So the reason that was an issue is because it's called a Newman cutting lathe that actually cuts the master for these. At that time, it was very specific what kind of lathe was being used in the 50s and 60s, and you actually had to, the motor was your hand, so to speak. Nothing happened automatic now, how it was. So this thing was being etched by hand for the master, so that took place over there. And then I actually found the same record pressing plant, one of them, that pressed this record for me as well. So it was true to that time period. I used, the whole process was analog. I had the lacquers cut by hand like they were done at the time and not digitally, and then I went ahead and used one of the same pressing plants locally that the same record companies for Martin Denny stuff and things like that time period would be used. So it's very accurate to the time. I wanted to make sure that if it was stripped of everything with no identification, but you found this, that you would kind of be able to place it at that time period. So there's nothing about this that isn't true to that tribute period, that 50s and 60s. So that was pretty neat. One of the other small things here is the inner label. You'll notice at the time, again, cheapness was the name of the game. You'll find on a lot of inner labels, they call it a flood color, so it was just one color label in the background, and then they used a silver ink to print all the information. That was very specific to that time. Again, I wanted to stay true to that, so again, I went ahead and produced the inner labels with a flood color. Of course, I put the heart in because that's variation I use for this stuff, but then the metallic silver ink for all the writing. Metallic silver. So even though it says 180 gram, it's actually 200 gram. There's a little more than what should be, which is, it doesn't hurt, that's fine. But anyway, new record comes out Black Friday, Record Store Day. Moldy Toes in San Clemente will have it. Dave over at Factory Records in Costa Mesa will be carrying it. And Parker at the lab in Costa Mesa at Cream Tangerine will be carrying it as well. Or the link's in the bio. Either way, this was super fun, making kind of a tribute record. And technically, because it's all original audio, this is my first official release, which you can also find on Spotify, looking up a Piece of Mumblings or Professor Pickles. I'm sure you can find it on there. Anyway, I hope you check it out. I hope you enjoy it. It was fun to make, and hopefully there will be more. Happy, everything's good.